Welcome everybody to another installment of Nain Shorts here in the basement of Physique Magnifique in South San Francisco, 387 Grand Avenue. Come join us whenever you're in the area. Come play, maybe leave with a few bruises or just a few good ideas, because that's what we're about, sharing, and this is our home. And our parents here have given us a great place to be able to do this sort of thing, so come on by if you're in the area. Now, let's continue our conversation from last time. If you didn't get a chance to watch it, by all means, go back and take a gander. I describe or talk about the feelings that I went through in my first showing, my first presentation in a seminar setting, which was a lot of fun. But that was the emotional sides. Now I want to really dive into the technical, more of a critical evaluation of what it is that I intended to get across versus what comes across to the students. We've discussed this many times before as topics about how a student perceives their instructor, whether they have fame or title, or it's just some random guy with beautiful hair that pops up in front of them. I gotta entertain myself, folks. But either way, all these things affect the way that we see that, but also the way that we present it as instructors can and will have a great effect on what comes across to the students. So I really want to evaluate what I may or may not have achieved in this particular showing. Now, at first, I did talk about the bladed mind. I did talk about the process that I went through the bladed mind, and eventually that's what I shared. So you can argue that what I was doing is I was representing the art that I'm fond of, the art that I practice, the art that I've done the most, and I'm trying to expose people to the way that we do things. And I believe that that's a very big subject that a lot of people do. They're there to show their art, expose people to something that they may have not known prior, or a different way of seeing it, because there's people that are trying to reinvent their art all the time. And in that essence, I guess I did, because I stuck to the curriculum that I know. I stuck to the lessons that I've come up with and that I understand, and I did my best to get that across to the students. Now, whether or not that happened, some of the feedback is yes, because we do advocate in the bladed mind that it is not what we teach, but how we go about teaching it that makes the difference. And a lot of parents did say that they enjoyed that I explained the why to their students, that they themselves as observers were able to follow along with the instructions and understand what was expected of the people involved. So in that regard, yes, I was promoting the bladed mind. But was I also then separately trying to gain people to come join the bladed mind? Because I do believe that is a valid reason why somebody would go to a seminar, is to expose people to their school. Not necessarily their art, but their school, their way of teaching, to recruit, if possible, one or two students, if that happens to be the case. And I do believe that if that was my mindset, I would be able to do that as well. I'd be able to go out there and really sell myself, my school, and try to get people to come and join me. Now, if it was all about sales for me, if all I was trying to get is people and people, then, oh my God, I'd show something razzle-dazzle, some great movement, something that's beautiful and just goes on, and everyone's like, oh my God, that's so wonderful, which ultimately in a fight wouldn't amount to much, but it looks great. It looks awesome. But it would take people, depending on their skill level and their determination, several years to achieve. So in a sense, yeah, I'm selling, but am I selling nothing but sizzle? No substance, because once they get to the class, they realize, well, I've been doing this for a year and I'm nowhere near that example that I was given. That thing that brought me into the door is not there. And ultimately, that's how it is in martial arts classes. Half of the people are gone by the year. If you have a class of 20 in just a few months, you lose almost half. And so on and so forth as the time goes by, and only a few actually stay through a year or two, and only us apparent crazy people stay on it for life. So what does that say about what we're doing in front of these students? Is it a disservice to show something that they may not be able to achieve in a short period of time? Or do we change how we teach these things? Maybe create a different curriculum to appease the people that are only there, that we know they're only going to be there for maybe a year, maybe two, and give them something that's going to be significant. Because I think ultimately, whether or not we're trying to sell something or we're just trying to expose people to something, when we find ourselves in a seminar setting in front of a group of people, we want to leave a lasting impression. And whether you're doing it to expose or to sell, you have to show a little flash. You have to show some of the things that, are just look cool, because oftentimes that's what attracts us to things. Like, oh my God, that looked awesome, or that was great, can you do it again? And you get wrapped up into asking these questions and whether or not you're capable of doing it. And depending on what your personality is as a student, I'm going to put myself there, I'm going to be a white belt again, and I'm going to start from the beginning, and I have the determination to do it. Or you're just, oh my God, that looks so cool, and I lost interest after a week. I don't know. That's for each student to decide. But I think as instructors, we do have a bit more of a responsibility to be sure that what we're trying to get across is what gets across. It's not always going to work that way, because everybody's going to take it in their own interpretation, their own perception of it. But ultimately, I think we have to stay true to what it is that we're trying to do. Now, in my case, in this one showing, all I was trying to do is get across an idea. That's it. I wasn't so much trying to expose the bladed mind, and I definitely wasn't trying to recruit anybody into my class. All I showed was a very, very simple stretching exercise which required the core. That's it. Just from here, feet were planted, and we're just moving from one end to the other. And once we start moving our arms, we make a diagonal line, and our body continues to turn, and then we come across, and then we go forward. So on the side, it looks like this. As I'm turning now to the left, coming across, my body is still turning. I'm still doing these lines. We're adding details, like using just the tip of the stick to make a line from the person in front of the shoulder down to their knee. And once we're coiled down here, we're trying to get to the center mass of the person in front of us as a direct line as we possibly can. So instead of coming out and across, we're going to go in a diagonal line. My hand is going to shoot out that way. So the tip of my stick lands right in the center. So this is where it hits every single time. Now, these details become important later on, which, of course, in a time setting, we don't have enough of it to say we're going to fully explore all the ideas. But the people there that have training, have a legitimate amount of experience in any art, probably caught a lot of the benefits that come to doing something this simple. Now, mind you, it wasn't anything extravagant that I was showing. It was literally just the stretching exercises, but again, it was the process that we used to develop it and then turn it into something else that became the focal point. And I hope that's what I got across. Now, if it isn't, that's fine. It just means I have more work to do to get better at it. Now, at the end of that, Rick and I did have a fight. And I say it's a fight because it wasn't choreographed. It was just us trying to hit each other. There's more to it, which I don't want to reveal just now because I don't want my ego to hit the ground. Because, Rick is Rick and he is my instructor. So I'll leave it at that for now. But the point is that we did something that looked really cool. It was gritty. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't flashy in the sense that, all these beautiful moves and I parried here and I come here and then I come across and then I come down and then I come here. There was none of that. I was literally just trying to hit him and he was literally hitting me. Although not quite as blatant as I was the other way. But that's what we work up to. That's legitimately what we try to get across to the students, because for us, it's not about the art itself. It's about the individual, and can we prepare this individual to be able to survive a fight. And in the essence of this particular exercise, we're building up a lot of mechanics, a lot of physicality that may not have been obvious to the newer students, but like I said, some of the veterans probably picked up a lot on it. For example, one of the details is to keep your feet planted while doing these motions. Now, the reason behind that is that you start developing from the ground up stability. You're able to then push off the inside of your feet and generate what later becomes power and force by understanding where you can pivot without necessarily moving, where your hips need to go, so your arms become the last point of motion. We use the tip of the stick because it is the furthest from the hand. So if you're specifically trying to reach a small target and then draw a line to another, that's building hand-eye coordination, targeting, which is, in my opinion, the first important thing to being able to hit whatever you want, is being able to hit it, or at least reach it. Beyond that, we're learning how to not expose our hand, because if we come out first and then down to our target, we expose our hand in order for it to get hit. But if we come down at an angle, trying to make as straight of a line from the tip of the stick, which is back here, to say my target, which is there, if you follow that line directly, it's the shortest distance. I can get there quickly. But if you notice, my arm is going in an arc. It's dropping in a circular motion. And remember, the original motion is this hip turn, which means as my hip is turning, oh, that arc is continued. That rotation that I'm creating with my feet, with my hips, is ended with the arm. But the stick is making, or at least the point of contact, is making a beeline to my target. Which means I'm getting there faster, but I'm also utilizing pure body mechanics to get there. So when you add speed to it, then it becomes that much faster because there's a shorter distance to travel, but your entire body is being compressed along the way, so your mechanics are becoming stronger. And this is through a practice of a simple exercise. Things that newer students would not understand or would not be ready to understand, but will already have been doing throughout as they progress, as they become more open to the lessons, as they are prepared mentally to accept what these lessons become. Then they can grow on their own. Then they already have all the tools from the very beginning to explore the ideas and concepts that come into fighting. Because as a lot of instructors have said to me, it boils down to this. The physical stuff is going to take repetition to develop. So why not repeat the same thing over and over again and develop a multitude of things? And then little by little exposing them with concepts and ideas as they progress along their training. And that's what I did in that seminar, or at least that's what I attempted to do, is get that across, get that idea. So then each student wouldn't be so bogged down with having to remember all these movements or having to remember this angle and that angle, but rather just remember, hey, keep it simple, understand it as best you can, and then grow from there. And if I got that across, then great, and if I didn't, again, I have work to do. But that's what I intended to do. Did it come across? Did it not? I'm not 100% sure. But it's one of the reasons why I said in my last video, I have to take into consideration people's feedback. Even if I'm uncomfortable with it being positive, I have to understand what it is that they got. So then I know whether or not I hit the mark, or I was off center by a little bit, or by a lot, and how to best correct it. Keeping clear as to what my focus is going to help me get to that target a lot faster and a lot better than if I just take it for granted and say, oh yeah, that was fun. Because I also realized something. As I was in front of people, as I was teaching them, there is a bit of performance that goes along with it. Because honestly, how much can a student retain? Having 4 or 5 instructors in a day, do they even remember the first instructor from the beginning of the day at the end? Do they remember what they learned? So there is a sense of, I guess, entertainment that goes along with it, or at least that was my interpretation of it. where it does have to be fun. So there is a lot to balance and a lot to be said about having a successful showing at a seminar. And this is me just evaluating myself and trying to figure out what worked, what didn't, what should I continue doing, what can I learn, and how much more can I do to leave a lasting impression to these students, whether it's to get them to come to my class or whether it's to simply expose them to my art, regardless of the reason. It's my responsibility to take that upon myself to make sure that message is clear. So, thank you again for stopping by on Nain Short. Hopefully this has gotten you to think a little bit about yourself and your training and where it is you want to go with it. As always, please like and subscribe, hit that notification button, and we do now have a donation button. So if you feel like this is something worthwhile, please, by all means, hit that donation button, and whatever you can, anything we'll accept. There's no sum too small, no sum too big. So any of you big spenders out there, by all means, let us have it, because we'll do good things with it. We'll continue bringing out content, not just in Nain Short, but in Kali Konversation as well. So thank you very much again. Till the next one, 3, 2, 1, cut!